Super Bowl 59 did not disappoint, as once again, with the world watching on the big stage, Serena Williams with Crip Walk. We're going to get to that in a moment, but as always, this video is brought to you via the Doctrine of Fair Use, the Fair Dealing, and the Digital Millennium Act. 2012, nearly 13 years ago, with the world watching, after winning the gold medal, Serena Williams would pay tribute, homage to her community, Compton, California. We're going to get to that in one moment, guys, but let's talk about the Super Bowl halftime show. Let's talk about the game. Kendrick Lamar, now he's also from Compton, California, regarded as one of the best lyricists in the game, guys. An amazing performer, an amazing artist. A lot of his songs have message, and I feel Kendrick is relevant. He will continue to be relevant because he reinvents his style. Every album, he reinvents itself. And I just feel that a lot of artists lack that today, to be able to reinvent yourself every time you drop a new album. I think it's simply amazing. Now, I did like the theme. They had Samuel Jackson here just kind of setting the tone for the message of Kendrick's music. Now, if you're not familiar with Kendrick, listen, guys, the metaphors, the lyrics, the rhymes that he put together with the message, unlike no other in the rap industry. And personally, I just think the music today, it's a dying breed. There's very few artists like Kendrick that can present a message with such rhyme flow. And it's just, he's one of the greatest. I mean, I'm speechless at how he does it time and time again. I mean, he's just truly great. And I could see why someone like Dr. Dre would invest in him. I mean, Kendrick is just, he's a once in a generation talent, guys. He does not get enough credit. And look, you can call him the Drake killer because I think Drake's career is over and he had to resort to a lawsuit in terms of defamation. Now, I do think that the lyrics and Not Like Us attacking Drake, I think they're a bit extreme, to be honest with you. I mean, especially, I don't know if they know each other. I know that, or I should say, I don't know if they know each other well. They've done multiple songs together. They've been around each other on music videos. So I don't know the extent of their relationship. But those lyrics are a bit extreme if you don't have proof to prove them. So, in terms of filing a lawsuit, look, if someone's saying some crazy stuff like that, I think most people would file a lawsuit. But again, that's after you lost the battle. So it kind of makes it look a bit childish because it came after you lost the battle. And it's clear the world would agree Kendrick won that battle. But I did think the overall performance, a beautiful message, right? And Samuel Jackson to back that up. I just thought this was beautiful. And a lot of people are going to be uncomfortable. A lot of people were uncomfortable watching this. But look, it's Black History Month and Kendrick's music has a lot of gems. You have to really listen to the metaphors. You have to understand and you have to really watch out for these subliminal messages because they are there. And Kendrick does a great job every time of getting his point across. And SZA, I just thought she looked beautiful. They're going on tour together. I think it actually started, and I have to check those dates because I might have to find a city where they're there 2 nights in a row just to get the best of it, because that's going to be an amazing. And again, I thought Samuel Jackson did a great job. Now, when Kendrick kind of toned it down a little bit, he went pop a little bit, when they sung, what's that song they have together? I don't know, was it All of the Stars or I don't know. I don't know the song's name, but after they sung that song, then Samuel Jackson said, he said, that's the way you do it. Unbelievable. So, and then of course, Kendrick kind of gave you a preview that he was going to do Not Like Us, but then he kind of left you puzzled, suspenseful. He kind of left you hanging because he said, you know what, people like to sue. So we were thinking, is he going to perform it? We all know that Drake filed that lawsuit and he tried to essentially block Kendrick from performing the song Not Like Us. But it didn't work because after All of the Stars, And Samuel said, "Look, that's how you do it. Dumb it down, keep it pop. Give the people something that's appropriate." And then he went right into Not Like Us, and that was amazing. I personally thought Like That should have been Song of the Year because when he said F the big three, it's just me. That's crazy. And go check out that short I did with Coco because that was around the time where Coco was getting this heat where a lot of people were saying she didn't belong in the big three. And I think right now, without a doubt, Coco belongs in the big three. And I think she's the big one. I think we'll all agree, right? Right? I mean, the last time she played Sabalenka and Iga, she beat them. So she's the big one right now. Now, SZA looked beautiful, but let's get to Serena Williams, guys. Now, if you're not familiar, Serena Williams, she's from Compton, California. And I did a very long video on the movie King Richard. And Richard talked about how in Compton, California, the Crips, the gang, right? They were, and look, I'm familiar, right? The reality here is when you grow up in the neighborhood, you understand the politics, but the Crips were, and this is how most gangs are. They will essentially, you know, the kids that are doing good, that are going to school, they're talented, once in a generation talent. Everyone knows in the neighborhood who's got talent and potential. For the most part, they're going to protect you. And that's exactly what Richard said the Crips would do with Serena and Venus and all their sisters. They would protect them and make sure they were safe. And Serena, when she won the 2012 Olympics, she pretty much paid homage to them. And, Richard talked about this a lot in the movie, that they never had a problem with the Crips. They always protected Serena. They knew she would be a star, and they touch upon this in the movie. If you haven't watched King Richard, please go watch it. There's no way you love tennis or could be a tennis fan and not have seen King Richard. Will Smith did an amazing job playing Richard. I felt without a doubt he should have won every actor award there is. And he did an amazing job. But for the most part, again, Richard made it clear that the Crips would protect Serena. And she's wearing the blue there. Kendrick's from Compton. If you've never been to Compton, Compton at one point was a suburb for African Americans. But, with all these different types of Jim Crow laws and redlining and, just financial institutions just not lending to blacks, this is well documented. You have to study. And this is why, California is the first state to essentially adopt reparations for blacks. And it's Black History Month, so I may as well give you a bit of a lesson. And I do think the rest of the states will follow. Once California does something, for the most part, we can expect the rest of the major cities and states to follow. And at one point, just with all these Jim Crow laws and redlining, it just became a poverty-stricken area. And Richard documented this well in King Richard. And just growing up there, they struggled, but they made ends meet, and they did everything they could, especially Richard, to train his daughter's tennis and just playing on those courts that were just run down. And Compton's rough, I don't know, maybe one day I'll post some pictures of some of these areas in Compton. It's really, really rough. And to see Serena and Venus make it out of there just with the support of their mother and their father, and to be such amazing students. And of course, they had a lot of help along the way, Rick Macy, a lot of these other legends, they really helped out. And it really takes a community, it takes a village to raise a child. And I think everyone came around these talented ladies and made sure that it worked. And a lot of them were gang members, and people don't realize that, the initial creation of these gangs, like the Crips and Bloods, were to protect their neighborhoods from outside threats, from people trying to cause harm to, the women, and, trying to do illegal things in the community. But somewhere, due to all of these just horrible laws and just things that created so much poverty in the communities, and it's especially drugs. I think Senator John Kerry, he said it best, in California. If you're not familiar with what he said in the congressional hearings in California, then you have to go study that. But that's where a lot of these gangs actually went wrong. And today it's, I don't know, it's kind of out of control. But the reality here is this is beautiful because Drake, if you're not familiar, he kind of messed around with Serena Williams, and this was well known. He would mention her in songs and interviews, and he would mention how she had a beautiful body and stuff like that, but that didn't work out. And he recently dissed her, maybe a few years ago now, in one of his songs, and he dissed her husband. And Kendrick is like, no, you can't diss Serena. So he bounced back, and I thought that was foul for Drake to do. And this is why a lot of people they're not really rocking with Drake these days, because Drake is, and I think Kendrick said it best. He's a type to really talk a lot of trash, but when it is like you can dish it but can't take it. And Drake is just he talks a lot of trash. He's there was a rumor allegedly that he had relations with Lil Wayne's ex while he was in prison, and you hear a lot of stories about Drake and all the, just, I guess you can say, the grimy stuff that he does, especially when it comes to women and other guys, girls, and wives. And look, Kendrick just roasted him, and look, you know what they say, what goes around comes around. But I just felt the Super Bowl overall, this performance was amazing. It was good to see Serena out here crip walking. But guys, let's go back to 2012. Shall we, ladies and gentlemen? Let's get into it. Now, Serena Williams, guys, we all know she's the greatest of all time, right? My favorite tennis player of all time, without a doubt. But that 2012 season was magical. Now, leading up to the Olympics in London, she would win SW19, right? And she actually entered the Olympics in London on a hot streak, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. She would win 11 in a row. And let's start in Wimbledon. SW19, she took out Strikova in straight sets in the first round. Sink in the second round. She served up a breadstick. Zhang, she took out in the third round and went 3. Shadeva, she took out in the round of 16 and 3. Petra Kvitova, amazing grass player, Hall of Famer. She announced she's coming back after the baby. Beat her in straight sets. Vika, who lost today to Amanda Anisimova, she beat her in straight sets. And then Radwanska, she would actually be in the final. She started things off with the breadstick. Then she would head to San Jose, very historic tournament. And by the way, that's the last time we saw Elena Rybakina and Coco play in San Jose. So we need to get that matchup going again. I mean, they tried to make it happen, but it just didn't work out. Check out Gibbs in the round of 16, Sheepers in the quarterfinal, and Sharana Kirstea in the semifinal. And not little Coco, big Coco Vandeweghe in the championship match in straight sets. Now, along that 11-match win streak, we saw Serena just get freaking hot, right? 5, 6 breadsticks, a bagel in there as well. Now, the difference between the players then, and I talk about this a lot, the players then were a lot more fundamental. They were amazing shot makers. They did not make the mistakes like a lot of these players do. And a lot of it's fundamentals. And you just look at all the sports all around, even like take a look at the recent quarterback classes in the NFL. There's been a lot of questions about just these quarterbacks lacking fundamentals, their development. A lot of these players, they're sitting. They're coming in, they're losing, they're sitting, and it's not working out. Take a look at the NBA. A lot of players come in, and they're just not living up to the hype, Can't set a pick. They're shooting these horrible shots. They can't make left-handed layups. Their free throw shooting isn't good. The fundamentals just aren't there. I mean, if you're anywhere, and in my personal opinion, and depending on the angle you're at, but I think Scottie Pippen played it best and said it best, Tim Duncan rather, if you're anywhere near the basket and you have the opportunity to use the glass, and for the most part, you can use the glass anywhere, depending on the angle you have, right? You should be using the glass. The fundamentals, take the easy basket. And I think basketball and a lot of these sports lack that. And that's the thing with tennis. These players back then in 2012, and I said this, I think the top 10 in 2012 would beat this top 10. because of the fundamentals. Yes, the players now they're stronger, they're more athletic, and that's due to evolution. That's due to the resources, you know, introduction of superfoods and all these scientific studies. We know that, right? But when it comes to fundamentals, nah, I don't think so. These players back then were a lot more fundamental. They 30 shot rallies were common. 20, 25, 30 shot rallies were very common back then. It's not like that now. And I think a lot of that is due to Serena Williams changing the game, being so strong, so powerful, so aggressive that a lot of players had to bulk up and get stronger. And the result of that is when you get stronger, the rallies they're going to be reduced. And I think that's really the key there. The players have evolved to just become stronger, more athletic. Whereas, yeah, 10, 12, 13 years ago, the players had the athletic ability, but it was a different game. It's about using your mental edge. It's about your shot making ability, constructing the point, setting up your best shots. Whereas now, I think a lot more riskier type of game, a lot more risk reward. Where players, I mean, we saw today Bronzetti just threading the needle with that forehand. I watched Denis Shapovalov versus Casper Ruud, and I should have covered that match. I was going to cover it, but I got a little busy. I should have covered that match because, I mean, Casper is just taking so many risks. I had Dennis winning that match, by the way, as the underdog, but Dennis just a little bit more patient. He does make a lot of mistakes, but a little bit more patient than Casper, just rushing these shots. And I just felt the game 10, 12, 13 years ago, amazing shot makers. I'm telling you, the game was such a beauty to watch then. Now, Serena she would win Wimbledon, San Jose, and she would head into the London Games with an 11-match win streak, and she would win the gold, taking out Djokovic in straight sets, served up a breadstick there. Radwanska, straight sets. Zvonareva, a breadstick and a bagel. Caroline Wozniacki, a bagel. Vika, a breadstick. And Maria Sharapova, breadstick, bagel in the championship match. And then she would crip walk, ladies and gentlemen. We saw Serena Williams live TV in London. Venus Williams was cheering, excited. That was a beauty to watch, guys. And Serena Williams would actually end that season winning, I want to say 31 out of 32 matches. That's freaking insane, ladies and gentlemen. And she would go on to win the U.S. Open, where she would also take Vika out in the final match. She actually beat Sarah Irani in the semifinals. Just an amazing season there. And then again, she would take out Maria Sharapova in the championship match in the Masters. She would beat Vika again, Angelique Kerber, who just built her game of strength around trying to take out Serena Williams. So, look, I love the Super Bowl halftime show. I love the game itself. I had Philly winning the game. I did tell you guys that, look, I think Philly's going to win the game outright. I knew they would win the game outright. I gave you guys a safe pick so you could just watch it. I didn't think it would be that bad of a blowout. To see Philly just destroy Patrick Mahomes like that, a shutout in the first half, that was crazy. But again, like I said, the Chiefs, look, they're used to beating teams up due to their home crowd advantage, the cold. That's indoors. I mean, Philly's just a better team. They're faster. They're more explosive. And when you're playing indoors, the better athlete's going to win. And I just felt from A to Z, Philly had the better team. You name it. Not necessarily at the quarterback position, but definitely at the wideout position, at the running back position. The line. I mean, playing indoors with that type of line, it's just going to give Hurts the time he needs to set up these plays. And that's exactly what he did, ladies and gentlemen. And the numeric lock for that match was the first half. So I had Philly on the first half outright. And then I took the 4.5 for the match. But overall, guys, I mean, I think it was a great Super Bowl. We did have a numeric lock in that come. And that's the thing with everyone being online. These numeric locks, the numerology, it's still there. But especially with the match like a Super Bowl, they're not going to give you the true numerology till at least a couple hours before the match, because everyone's online watching this stuff. And then, the people that know how the numerology works, they're not going to give it to you a few days in advance like it used to be. You know, you get the stuff a day or two in advance. Now they wait literally right up to the match starts. So pretty interesting. But nonetheless, guys, I hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl. Like the video, show some love, guys, and we'll be back. There's several tournaments going on. Doha's the big tournament, right? WTA 1000. Now Coco, she has a showdown with Marta. I think that's going to be a really good match. I can't wait to cover that match, but that's going to be tomorrow, so that's not going to be today. Marta's going to have a day off to rest. Again, Coco leads that head-to-head 3-1. Other matches, why don't we just go down? We'll just cover the rest of the first and the second rounds right now. So Putintseva taking on Uchima. Uchima's a good shot maker. If she can extend those rallies, I think she could beat Putintseva, but Putinseva's been struggling a bit lately. I think she'll get back on the right track. So I'll take Putintseva to defeat Uchima. Not going to be easy, though. Dana Vekic taking on Linda Noskova. You guys surprised that Linda's a 2-1 favorite here? That's kind of crazy. They never faced each other before. Now, this is a matchup here where... Now, okay, Linda... She's a good shot maker. She has power, but she doesn't have the athletic ability to really threaten Vekic. And she's not going to really have the power that's going to scare Vekic, because Vekic is going to overpower with her backhand Linda in a lot of these exchanges. And quite frankly, when we're talking forehand, now Linda has a very low trajectory, but when we're talking overall forehand and power, Linda's going to have to defend against Vekic. So I like Vekic to win a set. That's the pick. Putintseva to win, Vekic to win a set, and Helena taking on Shremkova. This is going to be a good match. Both ladies should hold. I like the first set over 8.5. That's going to be the pick there. Don't be surprised if Anne Helena loses the first set outright. That's going to be a good match. Kruger taking on Kinnan. Kruger's the favorite here, but two of my top Americans, I think Kinnan should prevail. I'm going to take Kinnan to defeat Kruger in that match, even though Kruger had a very some good wins last tournament. Dasha taking on Kudermetova. That's going to be a good match, guys. These two ladies always put on a show. Kudermetova, she owns a head-to-head One Love, but the thing is she can overpower Dasha. She really can. And that's going to be the issue Dasha's going to have to put up with. Someone like Kudermetova overpowering her. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to take Kudermetova to win. I just think Dasha leaves too many balls to be hit. And Kudermetova is going to put him away as long as she's healthy and feeling good. I like Ostapenko over Ito. Polina, relative. That's right, guys. Little sister. That's going to be a good matchup here. I'm sorry, guys. I confused the sisters up. I'm going to take Dasha to defeat Polina, and I'm going to take Kudermetova to defeat Lynette. So I confused the sisters. I'm sorry. Leila Fernandez taking on M. Navarro. Layla owns that head-to-head, and I'm going to take Layla. She's the underdog in this match, but I'm going to take Layla to win at least a set in that pick. Sakri versus Iga Swiatek. This is going to be a good match. Where's Sakri at? I'm going to take the first set over 8.5. That's the pick there. Yastremka taking on Peyton Stearns. That's going to be a tough matchup. I'm going to go with Peyton Stearns to defeat Diana Yastremka. Yeah, I like Peyton Stearns to win that match. I think Yastremka may have a hangover from losing championship match against Ekaterina. I like Peyton Stearns to win. Marketa Vondrousova and Svitolina. Those two, they've always put on a show. And I think Marketa's going to come out and play very strong. So I like Marketa to win the first set. She's been playing good. I think Svitolina may need to make some adjustments here if she's even able to. But I like Marketa to win the first set. McCartney Kessler taking out Ons Jabeur. It's going to be a good match. McCartney's a good shot maker. She can get balls back. But I think Ons is in good shape. She's been going deep in these tournaments. She looks good. I like Ons to defeat Kessler. Paula Badosa taking on Katerina Siniakova. Katerina withdrew last match to get here. I think Paula Badosa should beat Katerina. I like Badosa to defeat Katerina. Sabalenka taking on Ekaterina. That's going to be a good match. I think that can be a potential upset alert, guys. I really do. And we're going to take the first set over 8.5. Coco Gauff and Marta Kashuk. I like Coco to defeat Marta. Coco's going to be just a little too good. Mertens taking on Buxa. I like Mertens to get revenge and defeat Buxa. And Garcia Polini. I'm going to take Jasmine Pellini to defeat Garcia, even though Garcia owns a head-to-head 5-3. I think Jasmine can beat Garcia. Those are the picks, guys. Round 1 and round 2. Thanks again for the love and support. Serena Williams Crip walks. That's the big story. The Crip walk, the C walk. What do you guys think? Comment below.